I'm Matt.
I'm Shane.
And if you like what you hear, make sure you hit that thumbs up button real hard, and make sure you subscribe to Comic Movie Marks.
And also click that little bell for all of the notifications.
Whee!
Always remember,
if Trailer Trash can do it,
anyone can do it.
Hello and welcome everyone to another Comic Movie Marks video.
This episode, we are going to be talking about the beautiful Captain Marvel marketing, or lack thereof, I should say.
What the fuck is wrong with the Captain Marvel marketing? This is something that has just been racking my brain lately. I want to preface this right off the start here, right in the beginning, for Shane and I both. We talk shit about Marvel movies, but we're not the ones that just want to dissect and just pick shit out and destroy the Marvel movies for what they are. You know, that's not really our bag. That's other people. That's other channels. You know, Film Gob, he's excellent at it. He's fantastic at that shit. That's not quite our thing, but Jesus.
Yeah, and we're also not the type of people to talk about how, you know, some movies look like other movies, or some of the stuff with Aquaman is just trying to be Black Panther or all that bullshit. We don't buy into any of that. But some of this stuff, it's a little too much to just be coincidental.
It's like lazy, it's pathetic. Something's wrong here. We'll talk about the posters first off. So we've gotten a couple posters for Captain Marvel. One of the early ones we got was where she's standing in the airplane hangar with the doors slightly ajar and words coming down. And I remember seeing people make this comparison back then. And I kind of just chalked it up to like, all right, 90s movie, so maybe it's 90s inspiration. But then a pattern starts to begin. So we have her standing there, and then if you look at the Crow poster, one of the original Crow posters, it's almost the same thing. Slightly ajar, the words going down it, just the same way. I mean, it's a pose right into the light. It's almost identical.
Yeah, even like the hands kind of glowing a little bit. Obviously a little bit more in Captain Marvel versus the Crow. But yeah, it's very, very weird. And as Matt said, could be an homage. This is supposed to be kind of set in the 90s, which is probably the smallest part that I'm actually looking forward to of this movie. Chalking it up to an homage. Sounds good.
But then it continues. And I just want to give credit to where credit's due. Check out DC Olympus on Instagram. Those guys over there, they're the ones that kind of bring a lot of this to the light for the most part, and always entertaining when they do so. And then we got a recent poster of Captain Marvel, and it looks very generic. And she's just standing there, picture of multiple people in front. It looks exactly like a Fantastic Beasts poster, the sequel that came out somewhat recently. It's staggered the same way, with the same amount of people, in the background, almost positioned exactly the same, with the title sequence underneath the name, underneath the people.
The f***'s that mean?
Trailer companies, poster companies, people that make this stuff, maybe they're not the most original people, and it's not like that's the most original stance either. I'm sure there's plenty of posters out there that have that, but Jesus, this is supposed to be your first female-led superhero MCU. You're like 20-something odd movies into this shit, and you have totally just shit the bed on the marketing for this movie, and you're not even trying. And that's a question I wanted to pose was, is the MCU getting too comfortable? If people are going to go see it, they're going to go see it because it's got the Marvel logo stamped on it. If they don't want to see it, they don't want to see it. So they're not putting any effort in this. I don't know. It's really weird to me. It feels like they're not even trying. Either they know the movie is not going to be as good or make as much money back, so they're limiting the marketing and not going to spend a shit ton on it, and they're just kind of pumping out this generic shit. Or they're just too focused on Endgame? Maybe that's it. Maybe that's the problem at this time.
So then we recently get a clip released on, I guess initially on Twitter, from Brie Larson. It's a small clip, basically Brie Larson running on top of a train, shooting some generic shit, blowing off of whatever it is, a bridge, and then shooting into it and dropping into the train. And everything in this entire clip.
The enthusiasm in Shane's voice is just off the fucking scales there. He just shoots some shit, and then she falls in the train,
and does some shit and some stuff,
and scene.
It's very just bland. There's no creativity to it. As Matt mentioned earlier, this is the MCU's first female-led superhero movie, so you know you want to go into this kind of, you know, rooting for it a little bit and like, okay, yeah, let's see what they've got. Straight out the gate, it's just been just been bland. And every single thing that gets released, I'm kind of rolling my eyes at like, yeah, well, that makes sense. Of course, it's just going to be as generic as can be. And it's pretty disappointing to kind of see what they've pushed out so far. Maybe they're, as Matt said, they're not trying to convince someone like me or Matt to go see this. Maybe they're just like, well, if you're going to go see it, you're going to go see it. And I think if this movie does incredibly well in the box office, that's going to be so telling of that they don't even have to try anymore. Literally, Marvel is in the title name of this movie, and if it does well based on all of this stuff, especially like opening weekend, I'm going to be blown away. I think there's no point in trying for Marvel to be like, yeah, whatever we pump out, we can pump out a movie full of shit, and it's going to do great.
And we're not judging the movie off a couple trailers and posters. The quality of it, even though every trailer looks like garbage, everything that is, every sentence that's uttered in that fucking movie is seriously terribly delivered. And again, I don't like necessarily judging acting that much, but it just looks piss poor. I just could not believe how shitty this looks. Again, like we said, we're not like someone to really just necessarily shit on Marvel movies until it really just defends us like how stupid it is. And this is getting to that point just in the marketing alone. It's fucking mind-blowing. That train scene is terrible. Like, this woman is supposed to be able, Captain Marvel is supposed to be able to fly. She's supposed to be one of the strongest characters, stronger than the Hulk. That's always what we were told. That's what I've always understood from like the comics and other animated stuff. She's stronger than the Hulk. She's stronger than Thor, but she's like doing a generic train rooftop scene like a normal fucking dude. Like the Wolverine movie had a better train top Wolverine scene. I mean, what are we really watching here? Under Siege 2? Speed?
Right?
She's falling and hanging off the side of this train and like struggling. Isn't she supposed to be like as strong as the Hulk? Like, how is she just dangling on the side of a train? Like, why is this a struggle? And I'm sure somebody's going to say like, oh, she may not have all her powers yet. She's still figuring things out. I don't fucking know. But she should be able to goddamn maneuver herself up a fucking train a lot better than that. She's supposed to be a soldier. Jesus, it looks generic. Like, why is Nick Fury following her in a car? Why is he able to stay pace with this train on the street? It's just so generic. Of course, the one little piece that gets knocked off the train happens to hit his car. Like, it's just so fucking stupid. It's so generic. And it's amazing that she put that out there saying, I'm going to leave this here. Like, it was supposed to blow us away. Yeah, you just blew us away on how shitty this thing actually is put together.
The entire thing that they've been trying to push is that, oh, this is going to break the internet. That's been something from the very beginning. Break the internet. Get ready. This is going to break the internet. And I'm so glad that they saved Samuel L. Jackson's one of the movies in his contract for Captain Marvel instead of Black Panther, because it makes total sense that he's in this one.
So, I mean, I've been rumored to be in several different Marvel movies that I haven't shown up in. You know, I wasn't in the superhero argument movie, and I'm not in Avengers 3 and 4. They're shooting them now. They haven't called me yet. You know, they wouldn't let me go to Black Pantherville. So it's kind of like,
they've forgotten about you.
So how you gonna make a Black Marvel movie and not let Nick Fury show up in it?
It's unfortunate that most of the stuff that you see in the clips and in the trailers, again, like Matt and I try to go into these pretty open-minded. I would say even down to Ant-Man and Wasp, we went in pretty open-minded, maybe with a pretty low bar. But this is getting pretty tough when everything that you see is pretty much like, well, I've seen this before. I've seen this before. Yeah, I've seen this before. Like, there's no originality in it. And for a character like this, you need to have something like that. Something that to pull you out and go, okay, yes, I'm ready to see that. Let's see what Captain Marvel has. And it just hasn't. And I'm hoping maybe the movie is a little bit different and has some originality to it. Because right now, it's just kind of pretty much everything that I've seen before. And I've watched a lot of movies in my time. I'm an old man now, but still, it's just getting ridiculous.
To stand out as probably one of the most generic movies in the MCU is quite a title, because the MCU already lacks some originality in some aspects as it is, and it already starts to feel generic after a while and formulaic. But to now stand out and all of a sudden really make people sit back and be like, well, this thing looks like fucking shit, and just laugh at how stupid it looks. Well, I mean, you're really kind of, I don't know, upping the bar. Like, they just don't care. It has to be it. They just didn't care. They're hoping that the marketing and putting her hero is gonna sell this movie. And they don't realize, like, the groundwork that Wonder Woman laid out. They earned their box office for the most part. They didn't try to shove a message down your throat. They didn't fucking try to make you think that you're a bad person if you fucking disagree with this movie or not. They just put out their movie and a pretty good movie at that, of a superhero. That's really what it came down to. It's superhuman. It just happened to be different than what's dangling between most superheroes' legs. And it was great, and it worked. And it didn't really have that message in the movie at all to force down your throat. Now, there's critics and some other people that try to force it down your throat, and yes, that turns some people off. But this is like the marketing team. This is the movie that's doing it. And it's just mind-boggling how poorly they're handling it. And like Shane said, if this thing blows up and it makes $80-100 million in the opening weekend, I'll be really surprised. And if it does, then right, we eat crow, whatever. Then I guess we're wrong and the marketing was just fucking fantastic and we're in the wrong sectors of the internet. And apparently we're just in the negative areas that we are. But I just don't see it. I just don't, like guys at my work that love Marvel, he's getting annoyed at this. He's like, this looks fucking stupid. Like, both of them, they love Marvel. And they like, this just looks terrible.
My cousin's fiance is a huge Captain Marvel fan. Her and I were talking about it, and she's like, I've read a ton of the comic books. I've been a fan for a really long time. And she's even like, I'm going to watch it because it's Captain Marvel, but I'm not sold on it. And that was eye-opening to me. That would be like if Warner Brothers released a Superman movie that I was like, meh, like I just can't fathom that. It's crazy.
And just to point out how this marketing team seems to be so disconnected from the people, a guy named Matt Ferguson, who apparently worked on a Captain Marvel poster that he probably stole from another movie we haven't figured out yet. He says, here's my official poster for Marvel Studios' Captain Marvel. I'm so happy I got to work on this film. Finally, a female superhero that baby Ferg can look up to. I decided to make the comp solely about Carol Danvers and pared back the title treatment so you are drawn more to her. So someone actually says, because if you see there, I assume baby Ferg is either his daughter or maybe a niece or something. I assume it's a close girl to him in some manner, either daughter, niece, or something to that effect. Finally, a female superhero that she could look up to. And somebody asks, what about Wonder Woman, though? And he put, yeah, ... no.
You have to get past the Avengers and Marvel shit at some point, okay? Other people make movies.
This guy is so disconnected that, okay, Wonder Woman all of a sudden now isn't a worthy role model? Or I guess someone to look up to at all? I mean, are you this disconnected from the other universe? From the world in general? It's mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling how much this marketing team completely just been disconnected from the real world.
So there's a Forbes article we found very fascinating that ties right into this topic that we're talking about. And it's titled, Captain Marvel's Marketing Feels Different from Prior MCU Movies, and Here's Why. It's written by Scott Mendelson.
Which everybody loves from our last time we used an article by him.
Yeah.
Everybody hates this dude.
I love how you'll come to find that he's an apologist, I guess, maybe an MCU apologist.
Yeah.
He says, Captain Marvel is not as well known as Doctor Strange or Captain America, and to a certain extent, the marketing had to essentially convince us, not unlike the first Thor, that this hero deserved our attention. Moreover, she's got bits and pieces of Thor, Star-Lord, Iron Man, and Captain America mixed in, so making her stand out has been a challenge. It's not unlike the marketing for something like Alita, Battle Angel, or even Justice League, where the campaigns spend their time essentially convincing or reassuring us that these heroes are up to the task. Then he continues, there's a presumption with the MCU, at least over the last 5 years, that audiences will accept their heroes somewhat at face value, and thus can concentrate on selling what sets this superhero movie apart from the last one. To a certain extent, Captain Marvel is being sold as somewhat a conventional superhero movie, and then he even says, that's not a criticism, but it's striking to see an MCU movie aggressively reassuring us that the newest superhero is a hero. The whole marketing theme is learn what makes her a hero, which implies that we don't already know or need to be convinced. That's different from what we've seen from the last 5 years of MCU sells. Obviously, he's an apologist. He's like, oh no, that's not a criticism. Don't worry. But he's basically saying, they're just saying that this is a superhero movie. They're just reassuring that it's a female superhero. Here you go. And you're going to learn what makes her a hero. Even the lovely slogan that they have, what is it, like higher, further, faster? It's just very like, okay, cool. Higher, further, faster. Woo! Like it's hilarious. And he's basically saying, yeah, it's a little bit different from what we've seen in the last 5 years, because all the other movies were building to something, or it was the finale of something maybe, as opposed to this one where it's just like, yeah, here it is. Here's this movie could fit right into 2008. Boom. Here's an origin movie.
I thought originally this movie was going to lead up to something very important for Endgame. I'm starting to think that this is really just so they could justify her to be in Endgame. This is probably going to have a decent bump, now that I started thinking about it here a little bit more, in the beginning for box office wise, because the same thing happened with Ant-Man, because people wanted to see what was going to happen after the snap, after Infinity War. People wanted to see it. Then they found out it was during the same kind of parallel time as Infinity War, and yeah, it had a great opening weekend and then just fucking floundered after that, and it made very little compared to like other MCU movies at this time. And this one may have that same kind of like, well, the movie just before Endgame, it might be worth seeing. I really think that's what they're banking on, and it just kind of feels lazy, and that's what I'm coming down to. This is like the laziest Marvel movie, and if it makes a lot of money, like we said, eat crow. And apparently you could just stamp that Marvel sticker on anything at this point, and people are going to watch it.
Yeah, it's going to be intriguing to see. We're going to go check it out, obviously. Yeah. We're kind of obligated to with this show.
No, we're not.
But yeah, right now, seriously, we didn't go see Solo. But that's a story for another time. But yeah, this movie is not doing itself any justice to win over the people that it should. But maybe, as we've talked about, by stamping Marvel on it, they're going to bring enough to the box office, and they don't really care about, oh, let's open the eyes to someone else and bring them into this universe. It seems like they're just comfortable with the status quo at this point.
We need a hero. All right. In case I don't see you.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Hero. 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 Congratulations, you made it to the end of the video. You're one of very few to make it to the end.
Yes, thank you very much.
Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to Comic Movie Marks Podcast and hit the notification bell. You know, all these fucking YouTube channels say this shit, so I'm going to say it now.
Yes, it's perfect. And if you want to hear our full podcast, you can check out our podcast on iTunes or any other podcast subscription service.
Make sure you subscribe. Thanks again.